Good day. The purpose of this video today is to actually introduce you to SithasoApex, which is basically a web component which has been developed using vanilla JavaScript. The purpose of this web component is to actually bring you a functionality where you are able to create Apex charts using attributes. For example, the line chart that you see here, it's a basic simple chart that was created using these web component specifications. Like for example, it's a line chart, which is the type of chart, and the title is website traffic, which is basically what you see there. The x-axis title, which is days, the y-axis title, which is visitors, and then the categories, which is Monday to Sunday, and then the data, which is basically the series of data that we're actually looking at now. So we're looking at a series called daily visitors, and then these are the values that are there, aligned to the categories that are there, and then the height of the chart itself. So the width of the chart is basically 100%, and you're also able to download the chart by downloading to SVG, PNG, and the CSV in terms of the content of the chart itself. So if you have been using ApexCharts to do your charts, this will come very handy for you. And also, if you have not been using ApexCharts, this is an opportunity to actually do so. ApexCharts is available from their website, and they have demos there for the various projects. You see, they have various projects that they have, and then they have demos for the charts and other things. So this is an IMT project based on a particular price range. They give you a license based on a particular range. I think it's 1 million US dollars. If your company is making less than that, you can use the charts for commercial purposes and other open source projects. So these are the charts that are available there. For example, you go to line chart. This is the basic line chart that we did. So this is the chart that it looks, and then this is how it was built using the options of that particular chart. So the purpose of SithasoApex is basically to be able to build all of this for you, but without basically writing any code, but just using attributes. There is a GitHub repo for this, which is available on GitHub. And the README here explains in relation to how this whole component works and how you start using it. Like you include the Apex charts there, and then the component is SithasoApex, which is available here. And this explains the universal properties and what is it that they do, and also the supported chart types, and then the line chart and what the properties that you can feed into. And the nice thing is also that you can also include options which will basically be used to override any built-in other options within the chart itself. So what we've covered is a number of charts available here. But as you can see from the GitHub repo that is here, there's quite a lot of details in terms of what you can do. So let's go through the SithasoApex web component. So as I was indicating, it's just a vanilla JavaScript component that does this, that you can just quickly put on your script tab and be able to use it. So this is another, actually, this has rotation, because as you can see here, the x-axis labels are rotated at 90 degrees. So you feed the x-axis label rotation. For example, you can make it to be 45 degrees and all sorts of other things. And then these are the categories and also the data that we need to plot in the color. So what happens here, for each series that you specify, you give it a name, you give it the data, and then you indicate the color that you need to use for it. So which is basically what you're seeing here. So these are marker sizes. You can set them to 0, but currently these are left in default, which is basically for this particular component, I think it's around about 6. So this is a multiple series line chart. As you can see, this chart is curved, but you can also set it to be like straight, which basically will just make this to be a straight line. And basically These are the categories and also the data. The data you can see here, it's 2 series. So you can add another series and another series as you see fit. So as I was indicating, we're having another series here in relation to this particular chart. And then let's go to another one. So this one is indicating a straight line. As you can see, the lines are straight. So the curve there is straight. So what we've done is we've also increased the x-axis offset y, which basically means that the x-axis title is there, but due to the rotation of 45 degrees, this might be taken a little bit down and things like that. The reason that is minus 15 is because we wanted to bring it up a little bit. So so if you want to increase it, you actually do it, give it positive numbers, then it will go down a little bit, perhaps maybe over your legend. But it looks proper as it is at this particular moment in time. And then this is a straight line chart also. As you can see, the tooltips and all sorts of other things. This is time-based, you know, so we're saying the gradient here must be false. As you might have noted in the other charts, for example, the ones that we did before, like for example, this one, you see it starts darker, and then as we go, it becomes lighter. Basically means that the gradient by default is active here. Then you can set the gradient to be false so that it doesn't create a gradient on your line chart here, you know. And then let's go forward. This is a step line chart, you know. You indicate it is a line chart, and then the curve is a step line, and then for example it draws it like that. Okay, and then this is a multiple line chart, but also that is dashed. So what we do here is that for each of the series we indicate that it is dashed or not, because remember you can draw a single line or 2 lines or 3 lines that are dashed. So we put the dashed indicator to that particular series that you want, so that if for example we make the other one false, then the other one won't be dashed, and then the other one will be dashed. Okay, so this one is a real-time chart. It's updated via code. So on the GitHub repo, you'll see the code that actually updates this thing in real time, you know. But what I've done here is to hide the data labels so that they don't show. And then also fed some options, like for example, these options here, you feed it an object. You're saying on the x-axis, the type is date time, and that's the range that we want. You can learn more about the range from the ApexChart documentation. This one is a chart with annotations. It has a gradient. So there's an annotation there, and then there's another one here. So this is a little bit complex. I still perhaps get to simplify it, but we feed the chart the options that we want. Annotations, points, we're saying on X for April, the marker size should be 8, the fill color should be white, the stroke color should be red, and then the radius should be 2. So it's basically that particular annotation there, you know. And then also for the other one, as you can see here, there's that line and then the red and background. So that one is created with this particular annotation, the exposition match, border color, and then the label and all sorts of other things. So you can use ApexChart options within this particular SithasoApex and create the charts that you want. The column chart, for example, um, these are red. What I want to investigate is whether I can set the colors of these categories to be different, you know. Okay, so this is a column chart. This is a bar chart that has been having a setting to make it vertical. Now, the X label rotate here is 45, which is what you can see there. But basically, we have created a new typeset column, but underneath is using a bar chart that is having the horizontal setting. And then this is a column chart that is grouped, where, for example, you might want to compare revenue to targets, revenue to expenditure, and all sorts of other things. Also here you're feeding it the values that you want and the series that you want. For example, these are the categories, and then these are the series data that you want, and each series has a color coordination. All right, and then a pie chart you feed it on the data, where, for example, you feed it an object that says the name of the series, the color, and the data that you want to be there. So it puts up percentages. So the type is pi. We're trying to make it as easy as possible that you just get a chart. By default, the legend is at the bottom, but you can set it up to top and all sorts of other things. And then a donut, of course, as you can see here, this is a radiant donut. It's gradient, I'm sorry. So it shows a total inside it by default. And some of the options you can set on and off depending on what is there. So this is our donut chart. And then this is an area chart. So we rotated the labels. Also on the x-axis here, we have our categories. We try to standardize in terms of how the charts are done by feeding content into the categories and also feeding into the data so that it just makes it the same kind of flow across the board. So you don't need to be creating different attributes here to be able to change the information and everything else. Now the area chart here is having multiples, which basically means that we have two series on the data, and the values and all sorts of other things. So if you know how to set attributes, then you're going to be managing this. And then this one here, it shows negative values, where, for example, you have your range chart and or your area chart, which actually has negative values. So it basically means that within the range, the series that has been provided, there's some negative values that are there. So the chart itself is able to draw that one out. This one is a stacked area chart. So I still need to do stacked column and stacked bar later on, but this one is stacked area. So it's an area chart that's indicated there, and what we indicate in relation to uh, um, the information that we have here, is basically everything that we need to be able to draw that particular chart. And then this is a scatter, So these are the data points that we have here. We have 20 by what. So we have not formatted the values in relation to this, but we can format the values and by setting up a formatter for each of the values that we want. We'll be exploring that. And then this is a radial. So this one has the series in relation to the data that is provided. We have progress, score, and then the rating, where, for example, you can see the values as soon as you hover over them there. And then the radar is cricket here, the data and the color, and then the hollow size, which is this part, and then the height. So this makes it very simple to create your charts and everything else. Of course, you can hide the legend at the bottom by saying show legend is equals to false on the attributes as discussed in the SithasoApex GitHub repo. But as I'm indicating, most of the uh, settings or the options, So this is a radial bar. We are indicating that it should be dashed, which is that one there. So which basically is creating this particular chart with spaces in between, And then the horizontal bar chart, for example, the months and then the revenue that is there, the categories and all sorts of other things. And then this one is a grouped horizontal bar chart, which basically is following the same premise of feeding categories and data and then the color. As we are simplifying things. So I'll be working on the stacked ones and then the other charts. And then this is the radar chart, There is the categories that we have and then the data that we have there. And then this one here is the radar chart that is having multiple series. Also, the same approach is being followed. We have the data that has multiple series, and each of them have the various colors that can also be specified. But Colors are not specified in this particular example, so it's taking up default colors that are there. And then we'll investigate that further. And then this one here, there's categories, and then there's colors here, and then there's data. So this one is a little bit different because, as you can see now, this one is having a specific colors attribute for each of the categories that are there. And then the data is also not an object anymore, but just an array of items that we have. And then this one here is about dynamic changing of the content of the chart itself. So there's still some more charts to be done in relation to this, but so far this is what we've achieved to make sure that it's easy for you just to put a component on your browser when you're developing, and then via the attributes you're able to get a chart generated in no time. So we'll be playing around with the rest of the charts and then finalizing in terms of the most charts that we basically use. So that's it. Grab yourself a copy of ApexCharts, and then for ease of drawing the charts, you go to SithasoApex, and then you get the charts for yourself and learn to it. I'll try to make it as simple as possible to use, and I think you'll be able to do the same and you will enjoy using it. And then there's a vessel app, for example, that is demonstrating how it's being used, and also the code there that shows you that this is how this chart that you see has been created. This enhances, of course, and helps with the learning in relation to the kind of things that you want to do. If you have any questions, if you feel like you need a chart that's different, please hit me up on the discussions on the GitHub so that we can add that. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, have a great day. Sure.